when you play songs and have a guest that I have tonight on Nexxlegacy Radio, it's definitely one of those type of shows where you feel not just an overflow of nostalgia. You just kind of feel like, you know what, all is right with not just the dance community and hip-hop and music and just the culture that took on such a movement like it did during this era. And I want to welcome everybody to this edition of Nexxlegacy Radio. I am Brandon, and after listening to a song, and like I said, the guest that I have is just, it's just an overflow of good feelings, good nostalgia, just memories that I will have for the rest of my life. And a lot of it has to do with this guest that I have on and the movement that he has so eloquently put out there throughout his career. Not only is he a producer, writer, director, actor, award-winning choreographer, Hip-Hop Hall of Fame inductee, he brought, like, cultural iconic movies like the first Breakin' and Breakin' 2, Electric Boogaloo, and he's a cultural icon, and I want to welcome Shabba onto the show this evening, man. It is so good to hear from you, man. How you doing?
I'm doing great, man. I can't complain. Life is great, and it's wonderful to be here. And thanks for having me on.
Man, I appreciate you, man. It's just an honor and a privilege to be able to have dialogue with you, just to be able to talk shop for a little while. And it's when you listen to the song we just played, and I'm pretty sure you get hit with so many different types of feelings when somebody bring up either a name or a song or the movies or different things. How does it feel when you rewind and look back, and it's just a crazy nostalgia feeling to have it all kind of come full circle, right?
Yeah, it is. When I hear the song, I have moments flash in my head. Not only moments where we were making a movie and all of that, but all the things that were occurring in my life at the time, and just the general feeling that was in the air. Hip-hop was in its infancy, and so it was a very exciting time. So lots of emotions there.
Amen to that. And for me personally, and I'm sure I'm speaking for a lot of listeners out there, and there's so many people, not just in the States but overseas, who have captured what it meant to be able to have this type of era come down, and you being such an instrumental part of it. When you look back though, and you kind of take a good reflection on just the culture in general, like when you look back, and to me, I always felt like not just the breaking movies, but the movements, the dances, it brought a lot of people together, not just young little kids, but it brought like a lot of the older people. It was from literally from birth to 95 as far as just bringing everybody together during that stage, right?
Oh yeah, definitely. It had a feeling that was much different than what I think is out there today. Today, unfortunately, for the most part, and I think there's a few holdouts that are really great and really hold on to the spirit of what the movement was and still should be. Which is, because a fan of mine asked me a question, they said, what's the difference between what you guys were doing back in the day versus what kids are doing today? And I said, well, it kind of boils down to this. Back in the day, we danced, we performed because we really had something to say. Mm-hmm. And we had something to prove. You can say, well, it was sort of like recognition would be the word. And
right.
Today's kids, I think it's a bit of a fall from grace that has happened, where now it's about, hey, how many hits I got, or how many likes I got on social media that aren't really real hits or real likes. They are virtual. They can go away as quickly as they come, sometimes quicker than they came. So it's more about look at the things I bought, or look at the things I'm able to do at a club, and also the fame is built on hey, look at who I dance behind. I dance with Usher, or I dance with Beyonce, or okay, well, they're the stars. Well, what are you? You have now lowered yourself to almost a slave class, and so there's a difference. The dancers in those days, we were the stars. We were stars because of what we did. We weren't stars because we danced behind people. And if we did, if I danced with a person or a fellow star, say I look at the Jennifer Lopez's or whomever in the world, I don't look at them as stars or they're somehow above me. I see them as co-workers. That's not how dancers see them now. They elevate them to almost this godlike status, and they're again the lower class, which is a shame. That they have lowered themselves to that level in terms of who and what they are as artists. So I would say it's much different climate.
Do you feel if you fast forward today and you compare, I think any time that you have a culture that, you and I came up, because we're roughly the same age, you were in, of course, the obvious spotlight, but I've always looked at you and, your dancers and, your castmates and everybody as people that I grew up with. So a lot of what I have done, molded and shaped, of course, my parents and family, they've all gave me the bare basics. But when it came to, like, creativity, like, I've always looked at Shabba as one where I can say, hey, you know what, he came in and he was creative and he did it his way. So that inspired me to do a few different things that I was like, hey, you know what, I can be just as creative. So looking back now, are we lacking that creative gene, or is it just something that's just, dormant until we get a group of others that can be able to show other people the way?
Well, to put it simply, I don't think that today's generation lacks the creative gene. I think they're creative. But what I do think that they lack, in my opinion, is identity. They have given them their individual identity up to look like everyone else. I mean, if you look at all these events, crying out loud, I can't tell the difference between any of those people. They all look the same to me. They all dance the same. They all wear the same clothes. There's nothing unique about them. And then they come in. They make a big noise for a few years, and then they go away. And so you would think that a person would stop and say to themselves, well, how is it that we can dance or gain some level of popularity and last 3, on the outside, 5 years? But someone like Shabba is still here after 45 years. What is he doing different than we are? Well, there used to be a saying that I was kind of like saddled with the responsibility, being the youngest member of the Lockers, ex-Soul Train Gang member, and then, the founding member of the Lockers. And in our show, I used to introduce them. I was the youngest member of the group. And I used to say this: hey, we're the Lockers, an improvisational style dance troupe based on the improvisational style of the individual. So being individual was important. And so there's this sort of cross-breeding of steps and identity. People are stealing other people's dance and identities. So you don't know who owns what, who made what, where did it all start from. In our day, there was a kind of understood respect that happened in the streets. If a person, like for instance, I popularized a dance called the Witcher-Ways. I did them in Electric Boogaloo. I did it on the edge of the building. This particular dance where my legs are, turning around like toys or whatever. This particular dance was created by a fellow member and founding member of the Lockers, Fluky Luke, who married my sister. So at the time, he was my brother-in-law. But before I even did that step, you know what I did? I went to Fluky and I said, hey, even though I was really good at it, I asked him, can I, do that? And he said, yeah. I had to get his blessing. Now it doesn't matter. You put it on YouTube, and before you know it, all over the world they're doing this step, but you don't know where it originated or where did it come from, what was the purpose of it or any of that. And then they take ownership of it like it's theirs, all of a sudden. And we don't have the protections built in like the music business does. We don't have, any publishing rights. We don't have any copywriting rights. I tell you right now, if we had the same rights as artists, recording artists and television writers and so forth, there'd be a handful of us that would be multi-millionaires.
Absolutely.
Just on our royalties
Absolutely.
alone. Just on every workshop that you do, that you're doing that you're locking and teaching a locking workshop, you would have to pay royalties to the lockers.
Yep.
But they're not doing that. So they're basically plagiarizing our work, our hard work, and capitalizing on it for their own gain. And here's the part that really is the most disheartening of all. It's not the loss of revenue. It is the fact that they're not even doing it well.
Right. Exactly.
On some level, you would feel good. You say, well, at least they're doing it, really, doing it. They're not even really doing it, and they have fooled a bunch of people into believing that fool's gold is more precious than real gold itself. That's social media. That's the kind of madness we're living in. So, Fluky Luke, the Lockers, Don Campbell doesn't receive any royalties for a dance he created in the 70s. For the Lockers who popularized the dance so that you could do it, and virtually everybody all over YouTube is replaying that video over and over and over again. In the hundreds of thousands, if not millions of views all over the world. And we get no royalties. There you go. There's a problem.
And Shabba is our guest on Nexxlegacy Radio. And that not only is it a huge problem, it's kind of like, there's like a clone there's like a bunch of locker clones, like, floating through generations without giving the proper due, right? And to me, it's like, but you see a lot of that nowadays. And to me, that's always been one, Shabba, where I'm like, how can we break that mold? Like, how can we start getting creative? Is it more of us coming together to be able to not just police it, but start building that streamline where it can be a beneficial thing to be able to, I guess in a way, just, kind of hold everybody accountable for it and just, generate revenue and create that revenue generation opportunity ourselves? Is it going to take a group of us to do it?
Well, I think the operative word here is take responsibility. See, there's no responsibility or accountability in the world today. They can pirate the person's work. They can pirate whatever. We have nothing, no legal standing to protect our work. But here I want to share two brief conversations I had with someone. It's going to give you an idea where we're at. These two particular individuals, one is a prominent figure in Los Angeles that operates a high-profile event that is held monthly. And many, many dancers that you will see all over, that the who's who of every dancer that you will see on social networks. So I was talking to him, and I said, well, these kids really need to know the truth, okay? And they need to know where things started. They need to know who really creating this stuff and who really perpetuated, and who are the fakes out there, because there's a lot of fakes out there selling, what I call history revisionists. And his reply was, well, I don't want to get political. I had to bite my lip. I said, wait a minute. When has it become when a person speaks the truth, that's being political?
Right.
When did that happen? I mean, did I miss something? I said to him, did I miss something? Because if you tell the truth, no, but what he was more worried about was not telling the truth, for fear that if he spoke the truth, that these hoodlums or these cultural hijackers would somehow rise up against him and boycott his event, and he wouldn't make any money. So at the end of the day, it was about money for him. It wasn't about truth. It was about protecting his investment. So the truth got lost in his protecting his wallet. So that's one.
Right.
Another, and within a few days span, another young, prominent dancer who's well known within a certain underground scene, right? He posts on Facebook and on Instagram that he put a picture of the lockers. He said, these are the original 7. These are the guys that started at the lockers and had our names there and said, these are the members, blah, blah, blah. And I lauded him. I said, wonderful. I'm glad you spoke out and spoke the truth about that. But then he removed it. And I was a bit surprised. He said, why would you remove the post? His reply was this. I removed it because I got too much negativity. I said, when did it start happening that a person gets negativity for speaking the truth? And see, and again, this guy, and let me tell you, I'm not going to say his name because I don't want to blow that up. But the point of the matter is, this guy that I'm talking about, popular individual, and he's no chump, you know. I mean, you can't, you know, he's a tough kid, you know. He can fight, he does martial arts, he does the whole nine. But those kids have him scared. He's scared of them. He's scared of standing up against them and saying, you know what, I posted it. I don't care if you don't like it. It's the truth, and I'm going to stand on it. But instead, he allowed those people to badger him to the point where he removed it. And that gives you an idea of what we're really up against now. People don't want to hear the truth. They want to believe. It's like what Richard Pryor said, you're going to believe me or your lying eyes. One of the two. So the point of the matter is a misconception, perception has outweighed the truth. And so here we are. I'm in a locking class, and as an original founding member of the group, fighting tooth and nail with a 19-year-old who's telling me this other guy who's a fake told him something different, and saying, well, he's saying, well, that's what so and so told me. I said, I don't care what so and so told you. I was standing in the room. I'm an eyewitness. He's hearsay. But they can't tell the difference because this culture has now given way to this sort of like the subculture of lies that support the lies, that support the lies, that support the lies. As an example, if I train you as a locker and you go out, if I tell you, hey, you know, I know the original lockers, I know I was there on the scene, you don't verify any of this. You take my word at face value. Now I train you, and even though your technique is subpar, you go out and you start teaching. You start teaching under the idea, under the guise that, hey, I know what I'm talking about because so-and-so taught me. Well, so-and-so taught me because he was taught by the originals. But once you find out that so-and-so lied to you, then you start to suffer what is called cognitive dissonance. This cognitive dissonance doesn't allow you to accept the truth now because you have built your entire empire on the lie. So what are you going to do? You're going to try to kill the original person so that the lie can live. If the lie lives, it substantiates your class. But if you now prove that the person who taught you is the lie, then you yourself is the lie. And so the logic would be, the flock would then say, well, why do I need to deal with the lie when I can just go right to Shabba or go right to Don Campbell or go right to Fluky Luke or what have you? I don't need you anymore. See, but they don't. So what they have done now is that they have effectively wedged themselves in between the original people and the young people, the young, naive, gullible people who don't read anything, for crying out loud. They don't read anything. All this information is available to anyone, but they don't read it. And here's the thing. And I want the viewers, listeners out there to really, clutch at calculators one day. And some of these people who are in their 40s start telling you they were around when the original lockers and they walked the walk with us. And they're in their, mid to late 40s. I mean, do the math. What are they telling you? That they were going to night clubs with us when they were 7 years old? At 7? I mean, this is basic detective work. Yet,
Absolutely.
so then what happens, these guys, the liars that bred the lie, they birthed the lie, they then go around to all the people all over the world. You don't know how many people have tried to sully my name all over the world on some level by saying, well, Shabba is, he's ego tripping, or he has a mental problem. He has blah, blah, blah. He's this type of person. And some of these kids have come to me and said, well, you're not at all like the person they said you were. I said, well, let me ask you this. And most people, this ever happens to you, when someone says something about Shabba, I want you to ask them, say, hey, have you ever met him? Do you know his mother? You know his mother's name? You know the name of his brothers and sisters? Where's he from?
Mm-hmm.
And you're gonna find out something astonishing. These people will repeat something that they heard from someone else and have never met me in person. It's the most incredible thing I've ever seen in my life. So this is why we have a disconnect from the roots of street dance to these newer kids who are doing a lesser version, a weakened version of what we do. And I'll close it off with this part. And I've had a number of high-profile dancers come to my workshops here in Los Angeles at the Performing Arts Center. And I do I conduct my classes much different than most people do. And so in my class, I said, the first thing I want to do is I want to know who you are. Who are you? I don't want to know about the dance. I want to know who you are, because who you are is going to shape you as an artist and how you perceive things. So I said, okay. I said, so here's what I'm going to do. Rather than just me impose my will upon you and say dance like Shabba do, because I don't need to make another carbon copy of Shabba do, because that's never going to serve anyone. It doesn't serve me, and it certainly doesn't serve you. I mean, the best you could ever be is a second-rate Shabba do. You'll never be me, just like I will never be you. We're different. We're extremely different. So I'll put on some music, and you know what I find out? Most dancers today can't dance more than 45 seconds at a time.
Wow.
Did you hear what I just said?
Yep.
I will put on the record. I say a record. See, it goes to show you what era I'm from. But I'll put on a track or whatever. So I'll put on a track, and about 45 seconds into that track, they run out of material. See, because everything they do is based on a little routine or a little skit that they put together. So they're not really dancing anymore. They're doing what I call a trick and reward system. If I do these particular moves, I get this kind of response. When I get this response, that tells me I'm dancing. Okay, if you really want to be a dancer, people, you really want to be unique, you really want to be identified for being something different, then you have to ask yourself this first question. You got courage? Do you have real courage? And you might think, hey, we talk about, I'm a man, I'm from the streets, don't tell me. And I'm not talking about that kind of courage. I'm talking about this courage that I'm about to tell you now. Are you willing to go out on the dance floor and everybody on that dance floor laugh at you and tell you look stupid, that you're a fool, that you're no good and you should quit tomorrow, and you be a laughing stock, and you return the next week and the next week and the next week until you make them believe?
That's right.
Are you willing to do that? Well, I had to do that, and all of us had to do that. See, none of these people have to really, these people think, well, we're dealing with racism. You're not dealing with racism. You don't know what real racism is.
Absolutely.
I grew up in Chicago,
agree.
Illinois. I grew up in Chicago, Illinois during the Civil Rights Movement, when it was at its height, and this country was still in the Vietnam War, and they could get on TV and whoop my people, whoop them, sick German shepherds on my people, and get on TV and call my people niggers and whatever else they wanted to without any reservation. And when we went in, there's a famous happening that happened. I posted it on Facebook. Well, Richard Pryor, we were performing with Richard Pryor at what was called the Human Rights or Civil Rights concert at the Hollywood Bowl. And we were being discriminated against by a group of gay patrons that night. And Richard Pryor took offense to that because he saw that they had treated the white ballet dancers very kindly, but they treated us, they roughed us up. They even called the cops and things on us and had wanted our costumes removed and all this kind of stuff. But see, these dancers, they didn't have to endure that heavy lifting that made it possible for you to go out and make your little music videos that you cook up in your garage or your bedroom or the alleyway outside of your house or whatever.
Right.
So we basically gave these kids a culture with a silver spoon.
Absolutely.
I mean, they didn't have to do anything. They didn't have to work for it. So what has happened? We created a lot of spoiled brats who think you can't tell them nothing. They know everything, and they go on these shows and they win season 1 of some show, season 2 of another show, and 6 months to 3 years later, nobody knows who they are.
Absolutely. You're telling the truth.
Man. I've done this, man. I've walked in my classroom, and I've asked people in my class who are average age 19 years old, and I said, who's season 3 of America's Best Dance Crew? Who's the winner? Who's season 4 winner? The only winner they could think of is Jabberwockies.
Yep.
When I say Jabberwockies, I said, well, who are they? Who are the Jabberwockies? I mean, they don't know who they are. You know why they don't know? They don't know them because they hidden behind a mask. Who's that mask number 4? Was that Joey? Who's behind mask number 5? I don't know who.
What is their history behind the mask? What have they done prior to? What is the? It's not layered like it was. And let me ask you this: and Shabba Do's our guest on Nexxlegacy Radio. You can follow him on Twitter at Shabba_Do. Also, Shabba-Do.com is the website, and of course, Facebook.com/Shabba Do. And to me, I always feel like this, especially from everything you said, because to me, I stay quiet because I listen, I pay attention. And to me, when I hear you speak and I hear you speak about the culture, it was a culture that I grew up with. It was what I appreciated and related to it to no end, because it's a lot of stuff that was, on the creative side or just the birth of, it was nice to be a part of and nice to see, and you felt it 110%. And, to feel it being abused to a sense, and to feel it's not as appreciated as it should, and to feel like there is no creativity like it should be, I look back and I'm figuring out, I'm trying to figure out, damn, like where did it go wrong? So when you look back, because your culture helped me out, grow into the man I became. And like I said earlier, like family and all that stuff helped pave the way, but it was everything that I saw outside of family that made me appreciate it. So it's like, where did, the culture evaporate? Where did it go wrong?
Well, I think it's systemic. In the systemic contagion that has our culture in a death grip didn't start within the culture. It's a symptom. It's a symptom of society. You have to pull back away from the culture. The culture is not something separate of society. It's something within a society. Hip-hop itself is a culture, but it is not the world. So it is something that's inside of the world. And if you look at the world, there is a completely, across the board, disrespect for everything on every level, for life, for property, for having. You can't even have a civil discourse anymore before someone wants to jump up and want to whoop your ass. I'm gonna whoop your ass. It'll go from having a conversation to I can beat you up. Let me tell you something. I'll tell the world this. There was a time in my life where when I was a young gunslinger, And I come from the Cabrini Green Project. And if you wanted to fight, I would accommodate you, because that's what I did too. You wanted to go out in the street and whoop some head, you can do that, because I was part of that life. But I ain't part of that life no more. I don't go out and I don't settle my differences by squaring off with you in the middle of the street and having a fist fight. That's not going to happen. I'm a grandfather, and I don't have time for that kind of madness. So if you want to feel good because you feel you could beat me in a fist fight, God bless you. You can beat me in a fist fight if that makes you feel good with yourself. All I'm saying is, I don't have any fight in me left in the streets to be fighting in the streets. The only fight I have left is what I do on the dance floor. All that other hyper-violent stuff, I don't have nothing to do with. So the point is, do we want to focus on what is important, how to get better, how to move our careers forward? Then I have enough fight for that. I have enough fight to help you get where you need to go. And what your career is going to be much different than my career, but it will be the same. You'll have something to say. We all have stories. We all have a story. But if everybody's telling the same story, that gets real tired. How many times have you gone to one of these events? You tell me. I've gone to these events, and there is maybe, let's say, on average, just somewhere between 400 and 500 people at these events. And I'll be doggone if I don't see, circle after circle of hundreds of people with their cell phone taking videos of people dancing in the center, but nobody else is dancing. That's weird to me. That's like some kind of weird freak show. We certainly had circles, but it wasn't the whole damn night. The whole damn night is a circle?
Right. Really? Exactly.
Okay. Then when we did make circles, when we did have a circle, you had to earn it. We weren't just going to give you a circle. Now you come in and the floor is taped with a circle already on it, ready for you to just go out on the circle. And basically,
you had to earn your position. You had to earn your position in that circle, though.
And after you watch what they've done after about 20 minutes tops, they start to repeat themselves. They're just doing the same thing over and over again. It no matter what song it is, they're just going to keep doing the same thing over and over again. So the reason the Soul Train era worked, the reason the locking era worked, like you say, the 70s, the 80s, coming out of even New York and the West Coast, why these movements were so powerful was because when we would go out to clubs, everybody in the clubs were dancing at one time. Dancing on the stairs, dancing on the bar, on the tables, dancing everywhere. And so when somebody actually made a circle, it's because you were doing something extraordinary, because everybody in the club was also very good. Now it's just a bunch of looky-loos with smartphones taking video clips that they're posting on social network and acting like they went out dancing. Nobody, no guy. What? I'm going to ask this question, listeners. Why don't you dance with girls anymore? What is what happened? You just boys dance with boys. What? You just boys dance with boys. Girls dance with girls. There's no boy and girl dancing anymore.
Right.
Okay, there's something magical happens, brother. This is what I'm trying to share with you. But there's something in the listeners. When a guy asks a girl to dance and they dance together, some magic happens.
Absolutely.
But when you go into a joint and it's just a bunch of guys dance with a bunch of guys, it's just narcissistic. There's no art in that. It's just, you look at me, look at me. Ain't I something? Look at me. And I'm a star because why? Because you have brand new sneakers on. Do you have a job? How much money are you making? Are you paying your own bills? Yeah, if you really have ever, look at most of these people who think they're stars. Let me look at your resume. Look at the resume. Sounds like, I won third place winner and locking contests in Dusseldorf, Germany. Who gives a damn? Nobody will give a damn about that. You know, I mean, I'm talking about nobody gives a damn about it in the big game, in the long game. In the long game, when I say, like, if you win, like, today, are we going to care if you won 10 years from now? I don't think so. Because those events are like toilet paper. They don't mean nothing.
That's
it's
right.
like blowing your nose and throwing a tissue away.
Are you renting or owning? Are you renting or owning? And that doesn't just mean property. That means, you know, a lot of different things that you do. Are you renting your career or are you owning your career? There's a whole lot of layers to it all when it comes to it as well.
I'm going to quote Maya Angelou, and it might be, you know, not an absolute correct quote, but it's something along these lines. She says, you know, people may not always remember what you did, but they'll always remember how you made them feel. And that's why when I go out and people still embrace me, and I'm sure they embrace other members of the Breaking Films, and including Beat Street and whatnot, these real legends, not the fake ones, but the real ones. It's because when we did our thing, we made people feel a certain way. We made them feel proud of themselves. You know, how many dancers you look at now, you feel proud of yourself? Where you think, God, you know, he makes me feel something great beyond dancing. He makes me feel proud of myself as a human being, as a person, as a man, as a father. See, that's what hip-hop did in the beginning. It made Black and Latino people feel rise above what this world was telling us we were. That we were trash, that we weren't anything. Right. So when we danced, we could
Shabba, that was all we had.
That we were something.
Right, and Shabba, that was all that we had. That's all we had, Shabba, because when you look at your era, and you helped a lot of us, you know, like I said earlier, kind of come of age in a sense, because your creativity gave us creativeness to be able to do us, and do us in a, you know, to a point where we were confident about it because we seen you did it. So that inspired us, and that, you know, that's lacking, because, I mean, and Shabba, look at it like this, because I came from that era, that street era as well. Barely had lights on, barely had a place to stay, barely had a TV on. But you know what? At the end of the day, music and this culture was really 24/7, not just in my mind, but I've seen it around. We all broke out the cardboard and did our dances and tried to emulate a lot of different things. And just like a lot of people used to emulate Jordan with basketball or whatever. But it came from that. It came from that time where it was just, you know, it meant just so much to us. And now everybody has everything. And you mentioned, you know, everybody breaks out their cell phone and take a picture like they're active. But, you know, we didn't care about that. We definitely didn't. We didn't have it, so we didn't care about it. So it meant so much to us to be able to say, hey, this is what we accomplished, and we stayed up to try to get that move. You don't know how many times, Shabba, I didn't try to break out that cardboard and try to get certain spin moves right or pick up certain speed. It was practice all day. After school, did different things like that. And, you know, and I know you guys made a profit back in the day, but I know it was, you know, just from what I felt, it was more the creativeness and what you were able to give us as far as inspiration than anything else. And that's the thing I took when I not just look at your work, but, you know, how you made all of us feel, because I can speak for everybody that's listening right now.
Well, you know, what's interesting is that you told me, and I think, and very well, how you felt, and I'm sure that many people, young people, felt the same. But let me share something with you that you're not aware of, okay? Is that's looking at us. But you know what we felt like? I'm going to tell you what we felt like, and especially I'm going to tell you from the first person what I felt like. When I went back into my neighborhoods, it didn't matter if I did TV shows or films or any of that stuff. I felt like Robin Hood or something. I felt like a hero. I feel like what I was doing was elevating the consciousness of my people. I really did. You know, like I felt like, I feel like when I went back to my neighborhood, and let me go back a little bit. Whenever I danced with my whole neighborhood behind me, the whole feeling of my neighborhood. So when I went back and I achieved that, I feel like I didn't just achieve it for myself, but I achieved it for my people. I could say, yeah, I'll go back to the neighborhood and I was telling them, yeah, we showed them with something. We sure showed them that we're more than a piece of shit. You know, so and so this kind of sense of like cultural pride, you know, ethnic pride exuded from all of us, walking up and down Crenshaw Boulevard here in Los Angeles, and with our chest stuck out, not for self, but for us, for my people. I really feel like Martin Luther King or something. I really did. And all of us did. And we were proud of that.
Right.
You know, to say that we were black people and we were making something of ourselves when everybody thought that we were nothing. Now it's giving way to all this other crap that has nothing to do with anything. Doesn't make people better.
And that's why it's important for us to be able to not just have dialogue like this, so people can be able to. I mean, even though it's accessible, people can be able to pick up history. YouTube is a great little lane for a lot of people who just really don't know. They can type in, you know what I'm saying, anything, street dancing, break dancing, breaking, beat street, all that stuff, and the culture is right there for people to pay attention to. And the bottom line is people just have to pay attention to it, because I just not just pay attention to it, but appreciate it. And I just think it's going to take a united front to not just withhold this thing, because I always look at people are trying to build empires, and I get it. You know, empire is a nice word, and it sounds sexy, but to me, I would rather have a legacy, because you know why? Because nobody can take that away. Empires crumble all day. Legacy, you can't take that away. Who's going to say that, hey, my legacy is tarnished? Nobody's not going to say that because of what you've accomplished and what you've done. And I feel like, you know, Shabba, you've done that, and you know, and I know you've had a heavy hand with not just the lockers, but being creative on the sets of both Breaking and Breaking 2 Electric Boogaloo. And you know, I just feel like a lot of people, you know, to me it's just a historic night, because you just given as much game as I probably thought I would ever have, having this dialogue with you after being a fan of you for so long. So it's pretty heavy for a lot of us that appreciates real culture.
Well, you know, on a human tip, and I really want to impress this upon you right now. I'm gonna be real with you, okay? And
absolutely,
I want to state this unequivocally. I am so fortunate for things to go my way. And they did. They went my way. It's not to say I didn't work for them. I did work for them. But it also had to go my way. But I'll tell you this, man. At the end of the day, I'm no different than the person that scrubs the floor. I really am. We're the same people. I'm not independently wealthy. I don't call my own shots in this world. I'm no different than the guy who scrubs the floor, sweeps the floor, the waitress that works at the restaurant, the window washer. We provide a service, and we get paid for that service. Thank God I'm able to do a service that I'm able to make a living off of. But that doesn't mean I'm any different or any better or any more special than anyone, because we're all so special.
Right.
So some of my talk right now, and I want to be clear with people, I'm not talking because I say that I'm better than you. I'm talking the way I'm talking because I think you're better than you think you are. Better. You're better than the way you're handling yourself. You're better than that. Don't play yourself cheap. Don't play yourself with cheap money. Be proud of what you can do. Do your real work. Don't listen to that stuff on social media. Don't listen to those other people. Somebody say they got something bad to say about somebody. Go find out about yourself. Go find out about that for yourself. Don't depend on this other person. Don't follow everybody. Be different. Everybody wearing black T-shirts. You want to wear a red one? Wear a red one. You want to wear a blue one? Wear a blue one. Don't do it because you need to fit in. You don't need to fit in. You don't need to fit into the exceptional. You are exceptional the day you were born. You have made yourself unexceptional. You're making yourself unexceptional by following the status quo. And stop this whole malarkey about playing politics. There is nothing. There is no politics in truth. Deal in truth. Deal in facts, not innuendos, not hearsay, not what you saw somebody else do, not what you heard somebody else say. Find these things out for yourself.
That's right.
This is the key. This is the key. This is why I'm on this radio show right now. Let me tell you, and I'll be honest, I do lots of these. You know, I'm just really I'm really tired of talking about how great it was I did those movies. That was great. I tell you, I had a ball. It take 5 minutes to tell you that. They paid me well. I got all the girls I wanted. I did what I wanted to do. Blah, blah, blah. It takes 5 minutes. And what I'm on this show because I want my people to do better. I want them to do better because they can do better. They're not doing enough. They're capable of so much more. Enough is enough. I'm going to be, I'm in the last trimester. I'm in the last trimester of my life on this planet. I did my thing. I'm happy. I'm cool. I don't have to be the number one nobody in anybody's world. I did my thing. I stood up against the best of my time. And I can say right now, I won more than I lost.
That's right.
Good. It was a good day.
There you go.
Now I'm about shedding this skin, going to wherever I'm supposed to go after this life, and I'm shedding my skin so somebody out there can take pieces of this skin and go do something else and do something better than what I did. Do something more than what I ever did. And here's the thing, man. I really believe this. I believe that these kids out here can dwarf what I've ever done. They're capable of dwarfing anything I've ever done. Anything I've ever done in my life is not so exceptional that no one else can do. But it will be if you don't do it. I'll be the last of my kind. I'll die off. I'm practically of my generation, last of the true warriors.
Right.
The rest of them are all playing video games. They're not on the real battlefield.
True that. Very true. Got to unlock that box if you want to be able to at least have a glimpse of what you are capable of doing. And Shabba Do's our guest on Nexxlegacy Radio, and you can hit him up on Twitter at Shabba_Do. Shabba-Do.com is the website, and you can hit him up on Facebook.com. All you got to do is search Shabba Do. And then in closing, and before let you go, man, I just, wow, you know what? This is probably like the deepest. And I've had plenty of interviews, plenty of other, guests and things like that. This is the deepest and most, impactful interview that I've ever had in my radio career of almost 9 years. But in life, we've always blazed that same trail as far as inspirational pull. But, I know there's a lot of listeners out there overseas as well as in the States. So I just wanted to let you know you got a lot of love from 92.3 The Beat in Japan. As well as different parts of Germany as well, who not only is listening in, but they're all celebrating the historical icon that is you and what you've accomplished. So we got to make sure we give you some credit, though. I'm so grateful, and I probably in the dance game my days are numbered. Specifically in the dance game, not in the entertainment, but in the dance game as a dancer. Even at my age right now, I can still dance very well. I'm still physically fit to do what I do. But at some point, like Kobe said, at some point you got to say, you know what? It's time to move it on. But anyway.
So again, if I can close out with anything, it's just, again, I just want to reiterate to you kids out there, and dig deep, and I tell you, you have to start developing a strong constitution, a strong personal constitution. Because every day, because you're young right now, and you think you're invincible, but at some point you're going to realize how much time you've wasted BSing in the street, partying your life away with no plan, and it will be too late. You can change today. You can start today. You can get serious about your work. Loving something doesn't mean that you're void of seriousness. Sure. Love is great, but you got to get serious about your work. You're taking care of yourself. Are you in the gym? Are you doing the necessary things that champions do, that true champions do? Or you're a fly-by-night. You'll be here today, you're gone tomorrow. I say 5 years, but it's less than that. The turnaround is 3 years at the most. Most of these dancers have a shelf life of 3 years. You hear me, kids? You got 3 years. After that, you're nothing. They'll put you back in the street again. You won't be nothing to these people. All these events, they don't mean anything. You should look at events in a healthy way because they have a use. You go to events to sharpen your saw. But don't think that when you get to the event that you made it. You have not arrived. Just like you don't think you have arrived. Just because you go to the gym, you go to LA Fitness or Gold's Gym or 24-Hour Fitness. Just because you go and worked out doesn't mean you're a champion. You just worked out. You get ready for the championship. The championship is one of a long period of time. Okay? So I'll see you. I'll see you guys. Hopefully I'll see you guys at the pearly gates. I wish you well. Get rid of all them plastic trophies because they don't mean nothing. All they do is don't clutter up your garages. Throw them away. They don't mean anything unless you can cash them in right now and make money off them. They're just luggage.
Right. Like that $1 billion we all want. You're not going anywhere with it. I mean, when you leave, you're not taking it with you. So what are you gonna do with it? What are you gonna do with it?
Don't dance. Don't go out here performing and dancing, looking for $1 million or looking for money. Go out, be driven by the perfection of your work. Right. The perfection of your work will deliver the money to you. But if you go for the money, you're going for the cheap end of the stick. And I tell you, in the end, you'll lose. You'll lose that game. I guarantee you'll lose that game. So,
amen to that.
Get your mind right. Get your mind right.
Absolutely. And I appreciate you hanging out with me, man. This is one of the greatest, man. You are definitely a wealth of knowledge and inspiration, and we're gonna definitely do this again because as many people that's listening right now is just absorbing all that is Shabba do on Nexxlegacy Radio. Like we definitely gonna have to make sure we do this again because we definitely want to get these kids right and get this life cycle right. So it'll be good when we go.
Okay, I love you all. Have a good time, and I'll see you soon.
You do the same. Appreciate you, man. Definitely appreciate you. Wow. This is like the greatest that I've been a part of. Hey, you know what? I've had a bunch of interviews before, but this is solid. So, I appreciate him heavy. So, we're gonna play.